Hey everyone, welcome to this video where we asked you guys to ask us questions on what you wanted to know from the both of us. So Bella's here and she's going to be actually talking about some of the questions that you guys had as well as myself, and let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
Alright, first question I had was Patrick Hall, who asked whether you prefer Michael Jackson or Prince.
Who do you prefer?
I prefer both. No, I prefer Prince, just because I like his aesthetic. I love his style. His songs are obviously incredible, and they're both great, but I just prefer Prince a lot. And yeah, what about you?
See, I didn't know that. I actually prefer Michael Jackson, mainly because he did Black and White, and that's one of my favorite songs.
Okay, what else? What do you like about him?
I know, I kind of like the way that he uses music to like spread good vibes. So, like, heal the world. Like right up my street.
Yeah, true. That's definitely up your street. All right, cool. Second question comes from Grace Almera de la Peña, who says, how do you avoid creative burnout, and how do you recognize it?
I recognize creative burnout when I get quite cranky and when I don't want to ever work or sit in front of the computer or just get really depressed and in just a shitty place altogether. So usually what I do to prevent that is make sure that I take time aside to look after myself a bit better. So make sure that I'm staying healthy, I'm eating properly, not eating too much junk, and also taking time away from Photoshop. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think I'm the same way. I think what's most important is when you do have creative burnout, making sure that you actually spend the time doing things that are not specifically related to your craft. For instance, like going to see museums, that's something we do quite a bit.
Yeah, whenever we travel, we always make sure that we're like in a place, we're very present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also we try to make sure that if we do go through that, it's important to recognize when it's happening. I think people don't recognize when it's happening, and when they do, they just kind of like feel like they have to power through it and work through it. Some people do that. I think they're okay with it, but for someone like me, the only way to get through it is to actually analyze and focus on self-care, whether it's exercise, whether it's eating better, whether it's just, treating yourself right. Like Aziz Ansari says, treat yourself, right? Like you gotta treat yourself really right and make sure that you come first before anybody, whether it's even like family or your friends, or just making sure that you are doing your best before you get back into your craft, because you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your artwork, and you owe it to your family too.
True, and I feel like there's a lot of, negative connotation that comes with the creative burnout. You're like, oh, you feel bad about it, you feel like you're not good enough. And honestly, and this is something that I've really been working on and thinking about, I think it's okay to take some time out. So if you are in this place where you're really struggling to push through, take a step back. So take a step back, reflect, see what's going on here. What is it that is making you feel a particular way? And just take some time out, because what then happens is you allow space for other things to come into your life, like space for new ideas, energy, and just, I don't know, maybe a shift in direction. You might realize that your creative burnout is trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been struggling with this a lot myself for quite a while, and just allowing that space has actually made my work actually a bit better, because it's coming from a more thoughtful place. So that's something that I would think about.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. And also talk to other people going through it. I think that's the biggest thing is make sure you're vocal. Make sure you're not suppressing yourself, because when you suppress it and you don't get ideas from other people and how they deal with it, I think you run out of things to do and you end up going in a spiral. Okay, great question. All right, next question comes from Casey Cosley, who says, what is the process of concepting a new idea?
Oh, you can go.
I think I never sit down and say, what ideas do I want today? I always think about, I should say, I always go out and explore. I always go to meetups. I always go to events. Like we were just in Photo Plus. Yeah. And I get so many ideas and I'm so inspired every time I meet somebody. And the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. So going to different events and functions and galleries, you end up stumbling upon things you never expect to stumble upon. I think the best ideas happen just like that. You end up going to these things, you figure out, wow, like look at this painting. For example, we saw a Rembrandt painting recently where you realize that Rembrandt actually paints a lot of his highlights texturally. There's a lot more texture in his highlights and his shadows, especially for some of his self-portrait work. And for me, that was so inspiring because I realized that to get more attention in the highlights with photography, usually there's less noise, there's less detail in the highlights. But in fact, if I add more detail and texture in the highlights, there's a lot more attention that comes into it. The painterly effect is more prominent. So that inspired me recently.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just go out and do things like that. And then that actually helps me conceptualize new ideas. And you?
I'm constantly collecting things. So, for example, whenever I see stuff on Instagram or Pinterest or hear lyrics in a song or read a beautiful line in a poem, I try and save that. So I have boards in my Pinterest and my Instagram where I'm saving stuff, and then they all go into my inspiration folders. And then I have notebooks and a book by my bed. So whenever I can, I'm constantly trying to keep a hold of anything that moves me, because I need to be in that space to create something really interesting. So then I'll go back into the book and back on my phone and almost get a refresh, and then things get buzzing whenever it's time for a shoot. But then also what I like to do is have things around me as well. So for example, I'll have I'll have dresses from designers that I admire, I'll reach out to them and have those in my little bubble. Any props that I see, I'll kind of gather them in my bubble, so that when it comes to creating a picture, I'm also open to using what I have around me as well. I'm a very organic creator. Anything I have around me can potentially be in a photo shoot, and so yeah, basically I'm a hoarder. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's interesting to think about it like that, because if you know what inspires you or how you can get ideas flowing for yourself, then maybe work on a way to kind of, what's the word? Utilize it. So I know that things slip in and out of my mind so quickly. That's why I make sure I try to work even harder to save it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good point. Okay, great. Next question we have is from Jay Koi, who says, with color grading, what are 3 of the most important tools you should know and learn to use?
Okay, so if that's a Photoshop question, you should answer that.
Okay, so when it comes to color grading, I always go to curves first.
Me too.
You do? I think she's copying me. Okay,
right, and then I go to color balance. Yeah.
And so do I. And then I go to selective color.
I was going to say selective color.
And yeah, those
what
3.
Those 3.
Yes.
So curves, color balance, and selective color. Yeah, those 3 are
What's the difference between color balance and selective color?
So selective color is... So color balance pretty much just affects the image in the highlights, midtones, and the shadows. You can split the colors up into those 3 levels, whereas selective color gives you a lot more range within a particular color shade. So for example, you can break down the reds a little bit further, you can break down the yellows a bit further in an image. And I think you have more of an ability to craft... Yeah, you can craft the color slightly in a finer detail in selective color than you can in color balance. But when you use them together, they still layer up quite nicely and you can create different effects. So
that's good. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
You're welcome.
This is a good one. Rahul Mall asks, how do you resolve a difference of creative opinions?
So is that on the shoot or?
I'm gonna interpret that as after. Let's do before and after.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say after, if you have a difference of creative opinions, it's easier to talk things out then, because everything's already kind of done and you can have a discussion about it. As long as you're vocal. If you're not vocal about what your opinions are creatively, then you might have regret later. Like, for example, I see a lot of creatives have an opinion, but they don't express themselves till it's too late. And then they're saying, well, this is what I wanted and this is how I feel. But by then it's already too late. So always be vocal about what you want. Yeah.
So if it's before the shoot, and say, for example, it's... Can you hear the thunder?
I know, it's nice.
It's amazing. It's Halloween today. I don't know why you
Halloween right now, guys. Every single day is Halloween now. Perfect.
Okay, so if it's before the shoot, then... And if it's a collaborative shoot, then really make sure that you talk it out and have a good communication so that you can settle any differences before the shoot. if it's a collaborative shoot, make sure that you're just as happy as the other person. It's not a collaboration if you're pretty much there to click the shutter for their vision. I think that's pretty hard because the whole point of collaboration is everyone brings their skill set on board, and your role as a photographer is to bring your vision. Like that's you're creating the picture.
You're collecting the picture.
You're collecting the picture. But yeah, I always am very straightforward before anything because I hate misunderstandings. So I'm always straightforward from the very beginning about what people are going to expect from the photo shoot. And so there's no miscommunication on the actual shoot itself, and only good vibes.
Yeah, good vibes. That's
good
perfect.
Vibes.
Great. Next question comes from Neha Mirsky, who asks, how do you handle imposter syndrome?
Ooh. Okay. So I was really letting this get me down for a long time. Because honestly, I still, to an extent, I feel like deep down inside, I still don't feel good enough. But, and also that just naturally works with my, like, inferiority complex that I have for some stupid reason. But I'm trying to, like, tell myself that it's a lie. So, you know how sometimes you feel a certain way and it feels so real, but then the reality is that it's a lie. Like the feelings aren't actually founded on anything other than irrationality. Like they're not founded on anything. And so by telling myself that imposter syndrome is a lie and that all it's doing is holding me back from just being the best version of myself, I'm kind of like retraining my brain a little bit to not let myself hold me back. So I don't know. Though at the end of the day, or you can end the beginning of the day too.
And the beginning of the day too. Yes. Every part of the day.
So Pratik always does this, by the way. Every time I say at the end of the day, he says
at the beginning of the day. Yeah, okay. Always. Always.
Okay. So the whole day, I tell myself that as long as I'm doing working my hardest and giving it my all, and I know that I'm creating from a good place, then that should be good enough.
Yeah, true. So, that's true. I think everyone kind of has it. I think we all deal with it. Like even recently I came across somebody who I thought was phenomenal, and I thought obviously they were way better than me. However, it doesn't mean just because they're better than you, it doesn't validate your own level of self-worth. It's important to have a distinction of how good is somebody versus how important your artwork is. It doesn't have to be related to anybody else, even if you're proud of it, that should be enough. And personally, I had to come to that conclusion a long time ago. Like if I was proud of something I did, it didn't really matter if somebody else liked it or not. But it does matter if your clients like it. So just make sure that your clients are happy and you're doing everything you can for them, but also make a good distinction of, how much value you place on your own self and your own work.
Yeah, I think that's really important because actually it's so easy to dismiss a lot of the things that we do. Like, for example, our achievements, it's so easy to dismiss them because whenever you're looking at social media, people are only sharing pretty much the highlights of their life. And because we're surrounded by so many creatives, a lot of people are really awesome. Like their work is incredible.
Yeah.
And so it's so easy to feel like you're just not good enough, and you're a fraud or a fake, and you're pretending to be something that you're not. But I think whenever you're thinking stuff like that, like write it down, but then at the same time write down all the good things about you to remind yourself of it as well. Because I think that's so important. Like we're all here for a reason, and all of our voices do need to be heard because we are shifting lives. Like people, you don't know who's inspired by what you're creating.
Yeah.
So not everyone reaches out to you, but when somebody does, it's really nice to know that you're making even a small impact in someone's life, and isn't that worth being here for?
True.
As well.
And we always focus on the people that it's like 1% of the population or the people looking at your work may not like your work. But you shouldn't base every decision that you do based on that 1% or that one person, but you should be looking out towards the whole big picture and seeing how many comments you do get for people that do like you, that do support you, that do enjoy following you, and you'll be surprised how many people that is in comparison to the voices in your head that don't even exist in the beginning.
Yeah, and also taking pride in your own work. Because I do think sometimes you can get into this vicious place where you're... This is going completely off topic, by the way.
That's totally cool. That's great. I love that.
But I do feel you can get into this completely vicious place where you're validating your own work through other people's likes and comments, when it isn't about that. Like, the truth of it is, it isn't about other people's likes and comments. It's about how you feel about it. And if you feel like this is pretty sick and you put it out there, then that's pretty much... That should be...
Yeah.
That's already amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Great question.
Yeah, really good question.
Our next question comes from Chad Carpenter, who's a hilarious person. By the way, if you don't follow him on social media, you should, as well as Jay Coy and Casey Cosley. 3 great, hilarious people to follow on Facebook. Chad says, do puns help or hurt your editing process?
Yeah, they don't do either for me, but you can answer this one, babe.
They don't either because you don't have any puns. They help a lot. They help. Okay, so I always get my puns while I'm working. While I'm retouching, I feel like I expose a side of myself that's okay. That sounded wrong.
Yeah, stop exposing yourself, babe.
I brighten up my highlights. Okay, while I'm retouching,
I'm hiding in his shadows.
Yes.
That makes no sense.
See what I mean?
I'm
horrible.
like, I can't joke.
The worst
Awful.
wingman ever. The wingless wingman.
Okay. Not even a man.
Wingless woman. Okay, so when I'm actually editing, there's a part of my brain, I think, that comes out naturally where I'm thinking of jokes constantly, and Facebook's my outlet to actually put them somewhere. So if you ever see me post great jokes, that's where it's coming from. So thank me later. Okay, great. So the answer is yes, Chad. We are on the same page there, and everybody else agrees. So no further questions.
As long as everybody agrees.
Yes, they do, and you love them too. So it's Next question comes from Sarah Rocavento, which says, "What advice would you give to the newer photographers trying to get their work out there that don't know what to do?"
I would say Insta. Put your work on Instagram. Make sure you're sharing regularly. Stay engaged on not just your platform, your stream, but other people's stream as well. Utilizing those hashtags. And it depends what field of photography you're in, but doing stuff outside of social media too is a huge step in terms of stepping away from what a lot of people are doing.
Which is?
So, for example, if you're a fashion photographer, start using models and start reaching out to magazines and creating content that's, in the real world too.
Yeah.
And again, if you're a wedding photographer, start submitting to magazines and blog posts and just, get the hustle on. Yeah, because it's a saturated market. We're all in it.
Hustle. Yeah.
But, okay. But yeah, get your hustle on, I would say. Yeah, and also, if you're a young photographer, see what other photographers are doing as well. That was a huge step, and it still is for me. I see what other people are doing.
Yeah. And
if it's going well for them, then chances are it'll go well for me too. And so I kind of replicate that as well.
Yeah, totally agreed. That's a great question. And always be social. That's number one for me. The biggest thing that I got from my career is being social with photographers, but also with the potential clients you're trying to reach out to. So reach out to them, set up meetings, probably lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever you're trying to do, coffee meetings. Go to the events that they're at, go to galleries. Don't just stay inside your house all the time, because yes, it's great to connect online socially, but people forget the impact that personal connections have in real life.
Hugely.
We forget about that. And so many opportunities for me have come from going to events. I always go out to these events to find people that could potentially help me in my business, or if I could help them in their business, and together we all grow. That's
correct. So if you're for example, if you live somewhere quite small, usually they have a small photography club or something. That's a great place to start. And then, for example, a lot of photographers now do retouching, not retouching retreats, but they do retreats.
Damn. I'm out of business.
They do retreats and workshops. And workshops are a great place to meet like-minded people.
Yes, exactly.
And then to connect with the photographers that you admire as well.
Yeah.
What else?
Speaking of retreats, I do a few of them recently called retouching retreats.
Yes,
where
I literally just said that.
Yeah, but I'm trying to meet like a direct plug. You're trying to be super subtle about it.
Okay.
I'm going to literally put it out there. I do a lot of retouching retreats now because I want photographers and retouchers and every creative to come together in under one space. And we spend about a good 4 to 5 days together, working together and traveling together and eating a lot of food together. So
it's basically a foodie retreat.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
with some retouching.
Yeah, and we get such a huge demand for them. So if you ever see them in the future, feel free to chime in, and I'd love to have you there as well.
Okay. Do you have a waiting list or newsletter or sign up?
Kind of. I just post out there on social media, and the people that do see them at the time, based on their availability, get the first dibs. So stay tuned to my social media as well.
Okay.
Great. Next question is from Akash Bali, who says, "How do you get out of a creative block when you're stuck in it?"
Okay. So I think that really relates again to the burnout thing.
Yeah.
Because I know they're slightly different, but at the same time, I think they're also very similar. A creative block and a burnout, basically when you're stuck for ideas.
Yeah.
So I would say that's pretty much it. So I would definitely take some time out if I'm in a creative block, and go get re-inspired. So that's when I would book a trip or go to a gallery or go to a nearby city, go to museums, watch some cool stuff that I haven't, that might have been putting off, start reading some books that I buy but never get around to reading. So stuff like that. And maybe also I paint. So I was pick up my paintbrush again and just and see what happens there. Or draw or just do something different, because it all feeds back. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. And I think the creative burnout question is very similar. So I'm going to keep that answer the same as well.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so next question is from Brenda Bazan, who says, "How do you balance the creative side with your professional side?" I'm sorry, actually the creative side with your business side. How do you balance those two together? Because they both go hand in hand.
Okay, so you're very good at this. So you take the lead on this one.
I know, because you've been taking lead on everything.
I have.
I think they really do go hand in hand, and business side is the stuff that I hate the most. But I know that to get to the creative side, I have to do the business side of things. So it's almost, you have to figure out exactly how to balance it too. For example, if you know that you have to send out invoices, maybe send out invoices the second a job is done, the second you get home. Make it a routine where you do something after Y is done. So you do X after Y is done. For me, that is equal to sending out invoices, number one. Number two is staying on top of my emails. I used to be really bad with emails, so I'd sit down and identify why I was bad with them. And the reason for me was because my emails were kind of all over the place in my inbox. So I just filtered it so everything unread was on top, and then I would answer them one by one. The third thing for me, business-wise, is giving yourself a little bit of freedom to make mistakes, because it takes years, just like your craft, to get perfect at business, and everyone's still learning and growing. And school doesn't really teach us any of this stuff, so we're teaching ourselves. And also have friends that you can reach out to and say, hey, how do you do this? How do you send out your invoices? What's your schedule for maintaining task lists? You have a good one that I'll let you talk about in a minute as well. But just think of it as a creative outlet for the things that you like less.
Yeah. So actually, he's inspired me a lot when it came to getting my business in check, or the business side of it in check. So I was lost in the creativity for a long time and letting my emails go unanswered for literally weeks.
Yeah.
Which now.
Which literally 1 week? Is kidding.
No. Now I'm way better, unless I'm traveling. Which then, of course, it's a bit difficult. But actually, even now, I'm a lot better when it comes to checking my emails regularly, and I actually manage 2 inboxes now. So a little tip that I had, and actually I got this from Brooke Shaden, was that she smashes her emails first thing in the morning. So I will get up and then go through my inbox and smash out most of my emails first thing in the morning, and then just come back to it later in the evening. And then basically anything I don't want to do, I'll do that first. So I have a spreadsheet that Pratik finally got me to use. So
yes, find Excel sheets.
Yeah,
The best.
I actually we set this up last year, and I never really did it because I quite like it written down as well. So I have like that too. So I have three things. I have my written down version in front of me on the desk, which is my task for that day, and then I have a spreadsheet version as well, which is my task for the week. And then what I also have is my Trello.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many of you guys use this or utilize this. It's a site called Trello, and somebody actually recommended it to me on my Insta, not on my Facebook. And it's great because the Trello is like the bigger picture. So I have my daily task in front of me because I like to see it in front of me and scratch things out as I go. And then I have my weekly task on my spreadsheet so that I can so I can keep track of what's happening that week in a very visually open way and like shift things around quite easily. And then I have my Trello, which is like the bigger picture, and on there I put down like, you know, all the shoots that I haven't yet edited, so they'll come into my spreadsheet, and then, you know, business things I want to do in the future, and who I need to reach out to, and PDFs I need to make, and just stuff like that. So that's all on there. So I manage my admin side that way. And then it means I can manage my time better so that I can actually put aside quite a few hours in the day to do the creative side.
Yeah.
Which is Photoshop right now. So, shackled to Photoshop. But it's good. It's worth it. It'll be fine.
That's a great answer, by the
Yeah.
way. That's great. So the next question we have is going to be
Can
one
I
of our
ask
last
this
ones.
question?
Yeah, if you want
Okay.
to.
Is it this one?
Yep.
Okay, so this is by Xian Bang or Xian Bang.
Mhm. Well done. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks.
Sorry.
So, where do you draw the line when it comes to the controversial topic of cultural appropriation? Is a Chinese model with Day of the Dead makeup considered inappropriate, or is a Caucasian model wearing traditional Chinese clothes inappropriate, or should artists and photographers ignore such issues? I don't think those issues should be ignored at all. I think it's really interesting to definitely take it into mind that sometimes these issues are called issues for a reason and they have a history. So I can't tell you off the top of my head, whether a Chinese model with their makeup is inappropriate, mainly because I need to know more about the cultural impact. Before I can even say that. But then that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that before you slip into other people's cultures, educate yourself and learn more about that culture and what certain things mean for that culture and how closely they hold it. So, for example, I really slipped up. I'm taking over this question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really slipped up at the very beginning of taking pictures where I was using, this was like a few years ago when you had those Native American headpieces and they were just being worn casually at festivals, and I was young, so at that time I associated Native American headpieces with obviously not just the Native American culture, but something casual that you'd wear at a festival because it seemed like if everybody was doing it, it was okay, right? Well, wrong. It was not okay. So I actually had a Native American headpiece it wasn't like a massive one, it was just a small one, but that's not okay. So in a photo, and a lot of people were like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is great, what a great picture. And I had two comments which were like, you need to go educate yourself, this is not okay, and this is not okay. And I thought, well, that was interesting. So I went and did some research, and I immediately took that photo down, because if you don't know about the issues, then you can't make those educated, creative decisions. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would say is learn about different cultures, learn about what, like, some cultures hold closer to their own than others, certain things they're more important than other things. So, for example, Pratik and I are Indian. We're from a Hindu background. And in our perception, people wearing bindis, so, if I see white girls wearing bindis, I don't care. Like, I'm like, good for you. We wear it because it's a beautiful thing. And the fact that you're wearing it as a statement of beauty is totally fine with me. I don't mind it if people wear saris or Indian clothes, or have like Indian themed nights. I think that's amazing. I love that my culture is being celebrated that way. I mean, do you?
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Yeah, we love it. Like at my wedding, my bridesmaids, and most of them are like English girls, were wearing Indian outfits.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought it was amazing. They were stepping into my world and it was awesome. So some cultures hold certain things closer. They're more important and they have more value than other things. And there's just some things you don't do. So I would definitely say learn about it before you slip into that ambiguous place. Don't just think, oh, well, if somebody does it, then it's okay. I think that's where mistakes happen.
Yeah. And also don't say that they're too sensitive, because that's the biggest cop out ever. Like, oh, they're being too sensitive, and you really have no place to say that, especially if you're not actually in their position to make a historical decision. So just ask, and they'll tell you. In Facebook now, you can always just post a status and say, hey, I'm trying to plan this shoot. Is it okay if I did this? And if it's not, I would like to know why it's not. And you can be in touch directly with, people that are in a position to know. And if you don't, simply Google, cultural societies in your area, and you can email them as well and get an answer directly, so that you have, complete clarity before you do a shoot.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to be slightly controversial, but within from a place of understanding as well. Because, we are possibly getting to a place where we're too politically correct, like we're too divided, and we're not enjoying each other's, like, the beauty of our individual cultures as well. Like I actually worry about that too. But I think as long as you're approaching something with good intentions and from a place of understanding, then I don't see why anything should ever be a problem. But definitely educate yourself before you do anything.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
No, actually, that's all we have questions-wise. Any last words you want to say to anybody, or anything you want to mention before we...
No, I think this is really great. Thank you so much for sending your questions.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. I want to do this more often, where I actually feature more people. So if you have any guests that you would like to bring on, or if you'd like to come on yourself, please write your name in the comments or a recommendation for somebody else. And I'd love to have you down here and join me.
And you were telling me just the other day that you need a name for this bit as well.
Exactly. So I'd love to hear suggestions on what names you'd like for this segment.
Yeah, I recommended like Pratik Chats or Pratik's Pals.
Oh my god. I think that sounds more like a Pokemon than
I know it does.
like a Pokemon show.
Yeah,
so,
not very good at coming up with names.
Yeah. So just let me know what you have in mind in the comments, and if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear about it. There's gonna be a lot more on my YouTube channel and Facebook, social media. So where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. So my handle is @BellaKotak. So yeah, find me, come say hi. I have a YouTube channel too, although it's a little bit inactive at the moment. I'm gonna try and make more content for you guys too.
All right, see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.